Hello, this is Darice, and welcome to Moonlifeastro if you're new, and welcome back. If you are returning, I do appreciate it. Today, we're going to talk about the upcoming Leo new moon, which is going to be July 24th, exact at 3:11 p.m. Eastern. But before we get into that, I actually just want to first of all remind you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. That does help me grow the channel and get the message out to more people. We talk about astrology, transits of the moon, and how you can apply it to living out your vision, your purpose, growing or starting your business. And we're going to use the energy of the Leo new moon to help us with all of those endeavors. But before we get into that, I did want to talk a little bit about Mercury turning retrograde. It turned retrograde on July 18th. Feel free to comment below. Let me know how that was for you. It was interesting that day, like maybe several hours before Mercury was actually about to turn retrograde. I had a coworker message me about setting up a one-to-one. I still have a day job as I'm building my own business. And I've worked with this person for 2 years, and he's someone I've never felt safe with. And after about 6 months of working with him, I decided to never have another one-on-one with him ever again. And things in my job improved immensely within a few weeks of me making that decision. So I knew that was a sign from spirit, the universe, the divine, that that was the right thing for me. I've noticed over the last year and a half since then that everyone who deals with him is always involved in some kind of drama. And I'm glad that I removed myself from that. And I was doing several things when he slacked me that day, asking for a quick one on one about a project. And instinctively, I said yes, because I wasn't thinking. I was in the middle of three or four things, and that energy of Mercury about to turn retrograde, sometimes that happens. And this is what Mercury retrogrades are about. It's about slowing down. And what was interesting to me is that as soon as I sent that message, because a part of me thought, well, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I need to chill. It's been a year and a half. It's probably only a 5-minute conversation. Maybe I can make an exception just this once. But as soon as I sent the message, a car alarm went off in my neighborhood. And it was the kind of car alarm that made my body jump. And in that moment, I recognized that that's exactly how I feel whenever I get a message or an email from this individual. Like some part of me jumps, an alarm goes off inside of me. And that was a reminder from spirit that no, this person is still not safe for you. And it's probably not going to be just a 5-minute conversation. It'll probably turn into a 30-minute to an hour conversation about a lot of things I don't want to get into one on one with this person because he's just a master manipulator. And so I immediately responded back, never mind. We can wait and meet on Monday when everyone who's involved in this project will be together because we have a standing meeting with all of the people that would be involved in this particular project. And it was just a really good reminder to me that to slow down during a Mercury retrograde, to not rush. And it was a larger reminder to always stay true to my intuition, my instinct, to follow that, whatever spirit is leading me to do. And if someone doesn't feel safe to me, even though there's nothing on the outer surface that suggests otherwise, to trust my feelings, to trust my gut around that. So I just wanted to share that part of it. The other interesting thing was that I usually do my script outlines for my YouTube videos a couple of weeks ahead, maybe a month ahead, depending on how life is going. And I had done this script for this particular new moon video about 2 weeks ago. And every time I looked at it, something felt wrong, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And that was another classic Mercury retrograde shadow period moment. I thought there's something going on here. And then when I looked at it again today, right before I was planning to record, I realized I had some of the aspects wrong. And I had to basically redo the entire script, which was fine. And I'm glad I caught it before I actually recorded with the wrong information. And so I feel like that's a classic Mercury retrograde moment that is always good to double, triple check all of your communications before you send them out, whether it's an outline or an email, a text, especially if you're doing anything larger like contracts, that sort of thing. If you're traveling, if you're going somewhere, double, triple check the travel itineraries, all that sort of thing. So basically, just want to share that with you folks briefly, just to give you an insight on how my Mercury retrograde is starting off, how things are going. But overall, I think this Mercury retrograde is going to be good for people. I do have an earlier video up around that about Mercury's retrograde this year, this season. So do check that out. And with that, we're going to go into this upcoming Leo new moon. And I think this Leo new moon is actually going to be really good for people. At least I hope it is. It feels, just looking at the aspects around it, it feels really positive. I am recording it ahead of time, so I don't know what's happening in the world. So I'm not talking about any current events, if anything major has happened. And so if I'm not referring to it, that's why. And most of the time, I do tend to record my things ahead of time. So that's usually why I don't talk about specifics of what's going on. But here we go. So this Leo new moon, it's really about, it isn't just about starting something new. I think it's really inviting us to become someone bold enough to lead from our light and also use healing from any internal wounds we have as a catalyst for that. The new moon in Leo, it will be exact on July 24th, 2025 at 3:11 p.m. Eastern. It has a trine to Saturn in Aries, which can lead to grounding our leadership. It's also going to be trining Neptune in Aries. So this can lead to us having a sense of intuitive fire, spiritual courage. Excuse me. It's also going to be sextile Uranus and Gemini. This could lead to some breakthrough thinking and some magnetic messaging. It's also going to have an opposition to Pluto and Aquarius. So this could be an invitation for us to really tap into our power at a new level, really transform how we show up in the world, in our business, as we live from our purpose, our vision, our mission, and how we transform ourselves, and also how we transform those around us. Now, the one challenging aspect is that it does have a square to Chiron in Aries. So this could also trigger maybe some visibility wounds we have, and how we show up. And with the Leo energy, hopefully it'll give us the fire to move through those insecurities about being more visible, about being more authentic, about taking up more space. So at the end of the day, radiant power, it isn't really about perfection. It's really about building your life and business from the fire of your truth. Now, new moons are always about new beginnings. So the intentions you set now can come to fruition 6 months from now. So you can think about that, what kind of intentions you want to set. With it being a new moon in Leo, Leo is all about creativity, courage, self-expression, and showing up, visibility. So maybe think about how you want your intentions to show up around that, how you want to be more visible in your business, in the world, in your personal life. I'm not sure what happened. I suddenly got really hot. It is really rather warm. I'm on the East Coast and the humidity is really quite intense. But I'm going to keep going here. So let's see. Again, opportunity, this new moon in Leo is also an opportunity to align your business with your radiance, not just your role in life. So this could really be an invitation to look at how do you want to take up more space in your authenticity. And it's also an opportunity to ask, what if joy was the business strategy, the impetus, not the reward, but the compass? How would your creativity and how would your business look differently if that was the attitude that you were coming from? We have this trine in Saturn and Aries. Saturn, again, is about responsibility, developing our mastery, long-term growth. Aries is all about initiation, our identity, and leading with courage. So this trine can actually bring flow and clarity. It's an opportunity to choose how you build your business and to do it in a way that it reflects your truth. Some reflection prompts, and I'll put these in the comments below. What boundary would protect my creativity right now? Where do I need more structure to sustain visibility, not burn out from it? And what does long-term legacy mean to me now? And now with the trine in Neptune in Aries, this is an opportunity for our vision to meet devotion. Neptune in Aries can be sacred rebellion, intuitive motivation, and living from a space of courageous dreaming. It's going to support soul aligned action, not just dreaming, but devotion. And to really sit with that during this new moon, and maybe even the rest of the month, since new moons kind of set up the energy for the rest of the month, where we're leading to the full moon. So this could be a really good time to look at if you were living your life from a space of devotion, if your business, your creativity, your purpose, if it was from a space of devotion to your soul and to the universe, what would that look like? What would it feel like? I think this new moon is an invitation to sit with that. A practical tip around that, you can meditate or journal on those very things before you plan your next quarter. And you can even use visualization or voice notes to tap into that intuitive clarity. And then we have sextile Uranus and Gemini. That can lead to innovation and bold messaging. Uranus is all about breakthroughs, reinvention, and change. Gemini is communication, technology, and how we use our voice. So this sextile can support unexpected clarity, aligned reinvention. There may even be some surprising opportunities for networking or your business, or you might also have some new opportunities around strategy and visibility. And I'm also curious too if there's good news or surprisingly positive developments, and maybe some of the stressful things that have been happening in the U.S. and around the globe. That's part of my prayer for this new moon, that we get surprise good news this week as a result of that Uranus sextiling Gemini. Excuse me, the moon sextiling Uranus and Gemini. As for yourself, maybe you want to try something bold, or you can even just simply reintroduce yourself to your audience, or share a new message or belief that feels edgy but true. Could also be a good time to tinker around with new platforms or storytelling formats. Mercury is in retrograde, so I wouldn't necessarily launch it while it's in retrograde, but you can definitely play around with it. I'm going to look at some ways myself on doing my recordings for my YouTube videos. I might not actually launch or implement it till after Mercury goes direct, but Mercury retrograde is a great time to kind of play around with that sort of thing. And then we're also going to have that opposition to Pluto and finally the square to Chiron. So both of those things is yet another invitation from the universe to look at our shadow work and the healing that we need in order to become a larger, more expanded, healthier version of ourselves. So Pluto in Aquarius, collective power, liberation, and also can trigger our fear of rejection. This Leo moon opposite Pluto can be about balancing our inner light with outer pressure. Chiron in Aries, since it's a square, it could bring up, because Chiron is like our the wounded healer. And so Chiron in our birth chart can often recognize, or it often points to the core wounding that we're always working with, always moving through, always dancing with throughout our lifetime. But the more you heal from whatever that main core Chiron wound is, the more you heal. It's kind of like I always say, Chiron is what I think of when I used to hear the old church ladies say, you can't have the testimony without the test. I feel like that's the essence of Chiron. So when it's in a square to Aries, which is really about our identity ourselves, what wounding is showing up around how you feel about yourself, how you see yourself moving through the world. And then with this opposition to Pluto, that could be intensifying that. And so since this is about the new moon in Leo, it's really highlighting where we need to work on being visible, being truly seen in the world, and how that relates to how we live out our business, our mission, our purpose. For example, look at where your messaging, where you feel like maybe your messaging is not perfect enough, or leadership wounds that you may have from past experiences. And again, another opportunity to work with the healers you work with, the therapists, the body workers, the light workers, the energy healers. This is an opportunity to acknowledge your wound without letting it run the show. And again, being visible, showing up, it doesn't require perfection. It requires presence, you know. So really look at where you're maybe performing instead of leading, and what kind of stories about power, your relationship to power, how you express your power, what needs to be rewritten, and where can you be more compassionate with yourself so that you can show up courageously in the risk that you want to take. Because Leo, I think, is also really about embracing our ability to take risks, to do something new in a different way. So this is an opportunity to set intentions around that. What are some of the new things you want to take on in the next 6 months? And give yourself permission to ground your dream and creativity into a real strategy. In a nutshell, this lunation says your real self is the business plan. Some ways to work with this. You could block creative time into your calendar like it's sacred. It's an opportunity to review your branding. Is it aligned with your current truth? And maybe just set one visibility goal, like a pitch, a reel, or a live. You could also co-plan with your inner child and your higher self. And finally, I'm going to end with a potential Leo new moon ritual if you'd like to do so. And feel free to comment below anything that resonated with you or just simply Leo new moon. And if you have any insights you want to share, I would love to hear that as well. But one potential Leo new moon ritual, you could light a gold, orange, or yellow candle. Write 3 intentions centered around confidence, joy, and soul-led visibility. And then you could say out loud the affirmation: I lead with courage, I express with devotion, I build with love. I lead with courage, I express with devotion, I build with love. I lead with courage, I express with devotion, I build with love. And then you can anchor the energy, by simply sharing a post that day, maybe a photo or story. And that's basically it. If you made it to the end, thank you. I do appreciate it. Look forward to hearing from you. I always appreciate the comments I do receive from people who check out my videos. I do appreciate all the love and support. I'm truly grateful for each and every single one of you. I will be back for the Wednesday astrology of the week. And with that, wishing you much love, peace, and grace. Easefully yours, Darius.